Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another business breakfast show with the team at Chatbox Productions. It's the 10th of February already. If you look out your window here in the UK, it's getting a bit lighter. It's as though the year can't wait. It's progressing. Things are moving. Everything's starting to shift, my friend. Things are looking up. Are you filled with optimism?
Absolutely. I'm in the orange jumper, Nick. It's spring. Well, not quite, but I'm hoping it's going to come quicker very soon, actually. But it's much more mild this morning. Yeah, as you say, it's light when you wake up in the morning, unless you're like me and you're up at 6 because your daughter kind of wakes you up. But it's still a pretty nice morning out there. It's going to be a great day. It's going to be a busy day for me. Lots of stuff lined up. The breakfast show. And then off out the door, and it's back to back up until 6 o'clock with various talks and presentations and meetings. It's going to be a great day. Here's a question for everyone watching and listening this morning. What are you up to today? Let us know. Pop it in the chat. Let's give you a shout out. Let's kind of bang your bell. That's not the right one. Ring your bell. Let's ring your bell.
Write it down.
Bang your bell. Let's ring your bell and let's tell the world what it is that you're up to today and what you're going to be doing. Be interesting to find out what everyone is up to. Are you Zooming and Teamsing? Are you jumping out and going somewhere and doing something maybe a little bit different to what you've done over the past month, 2 months, maybe 6 months, even a couple of years? Let us know. Pop it in the chats and we will talk about it. Amongst other things today. We've got lots to talk about today.
Loads to talk about. And more importantly, lovely audience, get involved, join the conversation, let us know what you think. And let us know what you're up to, especially if you're going out of the office, right? If you're out and about, like Mr. Bell, Mr. Bang Your Bell, if you're out of the office, right, let us know where you're going, what's going on, okay? Can we come? It's far more exciting, surely, than being in the office on the screen. Once you finish your us, of course, then get out there into the real world. And let us know what you're up to, what's going on, what's going well, what are you struggling with, and let's see if we can help.
Ring your bell, bang your drum. That's the one, isn't it? I just got them around the wrong way. You know, these things.
A little bit too late, mate. I've written down "bang your bell," and there's a T-shirt in the making for you, mate. If you haven't already got one that says "bang your bell," imagine, right, you on a stag do, okay, bang your bell, right, big arrows, stuff like that. This just adds to the lexicon of business breakfast magic. Like have you evoluted and dibble dabble. If you're regular to the show, you'll know that David is creating his own dictionary of sayings. It's business bingo the other way around. We're creating the language of the future.
Yeah, let's just not forget though that this word here. Okay. For those that have not seen this episode, you can always dive back in at some point and watch this particular episode of Nick and I, where we spoke about word of the day. And that was quite interesting. I'm not going to spoil it. If you've not seen it, go and watch it. I do have a recording of it here, actually. I'll tell you what, let's just play the first few seconds to whet people's appetite. We're not going to play the whole thing, but here we go. Let's just see what it's like.
Flocky docky ducky something.
Flocky knocky, nihili, pillification.
Is it an English word?
I don't know.
But you clearly didn't make it up, mate, because I've...
Look, I'm good. I'm not that bloody good.
To keep you honest, I did ask you to repeat it.
That's enough. But that was us live on the late night show. And word of the day come out. And flocky knocky, nihili, pillification was the word. And don't ask me why now, because I'm not going to explain how I knew that word. Watch the show and find out more.
And we've moved on, right? We've moved on because Bang Your Bell is now trending across the globe. Thank you, Laura. Lovely to see you and lovely to hear we've got a new fan of the show, Lucia. Welcome along. Hi. Not only are you watching the show, but we're talking about you too. Hello. Have a great day.
9 years old. We must keep it clean now, Nick. Very professional and very clean, of course. All that tend to be anyway. We're very good and very controlled. So good morning wherever you're watching us from, wherever you're tuning in from around the world. We have people joining us from South Africa, some from North America because they get up at silly o'clock, 3 a.m, and stuff like that to join us. And we know we reach other parts of the world that other shows do not reach. So if you're joining us on Facebook, on LinkedIn, Twitter or YouTube. Good morning and welcome to the Breakfast Show with David and Nick here this morning. Nick, let's talk about National Apprenticeship Week. And it's something that's been, this is the 15th annual week-long celebration. So it's been going for a few years now. It's running from the 7th to the 13th of February in 2022. And it's all about the appreciation and chatting about our apprenticeships. And, you know, they've come on a long way. You know, when I was at school, there wasn't apprenticeships. There was a similar thing called YTS. And that kind of morphed into the apprenticeships over time. But you've got some stats around apprenticeships, quite some staggering stats as well.
I have. So I don't know a great deal about apprenticeships. I've never done one. I know people that have done them, but I don't know enough about how they exactly work. However, they date back to the 12th century, mate, here in the UK. 12th century. Families used to say, "I'll tell you what, my kid needs a trade," right? And they would get organize some sort of apprenticeship with one of the local trades, and then the youth would be binded into the contract for between 5 and 9 years. Right? Imagine that. You're going to be a blacksmith for the next 9 years. Formalized by an Act of Parliament in 1964. So they were around, but they didn't really come into their own. The modern apprenticeship came into being in 1994.
Okay.
Right? But apprenticeships are up big time. They're up 43%. So in the year 2021, 2022, they were up 43% to 130,000 apprenticeships. Now, that's a lot of apprenticeships, right? And I can understand why they've increased. Because I went to university, you didn't, right? I didn't know, even when I left university, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Didn't really know what I wanted to do until I turned about 40. Right, so that was quite a journey. And I'd been running my own business for some considerable time then. But so many kids, right, will leave education without the direction, the vocation, without knowing what they want to do. And traditionally, it used to be, well, I'll go to university and I'll spend 3 years having a good time and maybe work it out. But university route has become, a choice amongst a number. And apprenticeships, I guess, is a bit more of a, let's say, a realistic choice if you want to go down some sort of trade.
Absolutely. You know, there's twists to this, isn't there? Because there'll be some people that go on, obviously, to the higher education, pretty much forced to stay in education now to 18. And from there, obviously, you can then divulge and go off and do what you want to do. Some will go on to the university path, some will go down the apprenticeship routes, some might go off and go straight out into the big wide world and start working. Others might set up their own business. You know, it's going to be its choice. And that's great that there's so many options available to you. As you said, Nick, I didn't go to, I was at school when you could leave at 15, going on to 16. So I left and that was it. You know, my business world started and that was it. That's all I've ever done and all I've ever really known. And it's been quite a few years since I started up a business and really enjoyed that journey. But I do hear my wife went to university, and I know many others that did. They had a great time at university. University was about going on and partying and stuff like that. I think there's a lot less of that now. Maybe, you know, the recent pandemics played into that because you haven't had that opportunity to socialize as much. But let's go back to the apprenticeship route. How great is it? You can go out into the big wide world. As you say, you can pick up a trade. But when we talk about trades, we typically think like builders, electricians, plumbers. But that's not the case. You know, it's now pretty much any particular vocation will have some type of apprenticeship opportunity. You know, you can learn on the job, get paid for it, and get qualified. And some of those qualifications are as good as a degree these days. And in some cases, by some employers, will be viewed better than a degree, depending on what that job is. And, you know, it's a great way of doing it. And to give you an example, we talk about Amazon quite a lot. Small businesses, we want to support the small businesses out there. Lots of stories come out where they're pulling the shutters down, they're blaming it on Amazon, they're taking my trade away, the high street's dead. And I always challenge it and say, well, are you online? Are you selling your product or your service online? You know, are you putting your product or service via the Amazon platform? Oh, no. So how do you market your business? I'll open the door and someone walks through it. And, I have no real sympathy for those businesses. I've got to be careful with my words, but I don't, because, they're not innovating. We've spoken about it before. But Amazon sometimes get a lot of bad flack.
You're a fan, aren't you? You're a big fan.
I am a big fan because I think they do what they do very well. And there's lots of lessons to be learned. Let's forget all the tax issues and that. They still pay more tax than probably most businesses in the UK, just through national.
This is a contentious show this morning.
I want to bring
Keep going, my friend.
Conversational piece. But anyway, Robert Halfon, MP for Harlow and chair of the Commons Education Select Committee, posted this out yesterday. And I just screen grabbed this because I knew it was all about apprenticeships. Earlier this week, Amazon announced that they are creating 1,500 new apprenticeships in the UK this year. 1,500. Now, I would challenge, and I'm sure there might be others out there, name me another organisation, another company in the UK that are going to take on more than 1,500 apprentices, or somewhere around that, because I would be shocked if there's many going to take on that number. And isn't that great? That's giving experience, that's giving knowledge, that's training, not only young, because it doesn't have to be young individuals on an apprenticeship, but it's giving them, the skills. And let's not knock Amazon. They're doing something great.
I wonder what you learn as an Amazon apprentice. There's a lot of them, right? Is that the cynic inside me says that's a great way of getting cheap people into the warehouse, right? This is how it works. Box up those products, get them out the door. Or do you get a chance to learn about the business as a whole? We'd have to ask the MP who's had the conversations what the apprentices are learning. Now, I've got a list of some rather unusual apprenticeships that you can take on board. Right? Let me know which one you fancy. Right? Amazon's not on my list. Picking and packing and putting stuff in cardboard boxes, not on my list. Right? One of these is for you. Right? You let me know which one. Right? Chocolatier. Right? Wig maker. Crime scene photographer.
Okay. Yes.
Formula One engineer.
Oh.
Equine dentist. Explosive storage and maintenance. And tattooist. Imagine, right? You go in to have your tattoo done. Give me a dragon on my chest. And so, if you don't mind, we've got an apprentice in today. They're pretty good. Have a go with that. They're lower cost.
I'm a bit more worried out of those that, there's a couple there, isn't there, really? There's the explosive storage apprentice. Just let them have, the ability to play with, whatever it is, a ton of dynamite or whatever it is that's sitting in the storage. And, just imagine you're Lewis Hamilton. Don't worry, Lewis, you're coming into the pits. We've got the apprentice putting your tyres on today. They're doing the wheel change. And you're thinking, what have you done the nut up properly? But, of course, everybody's got to learn. You've got to start.
Great opportunities, right?
You've got to start somewhere, and that's what training's about. Nick, you're a trainer. You're training lots of individuals and companies, and getting them up to speed and providing the expertise. So you know what training's about. But could you do it with an apprentice? Could you have an apprentice alongside you and hand over the reins for them to take part of your training regime?
See, that would make great sense, right? Because I'm no spring chicken, okay? But people tend to, when they want my style of training, they tend to want me. Okay, they either like my style, my approach, my knowledge, my experience. Can I effectively pass that on to someone else? I can show them and share content that I would use in my training. It possibly, I don't see why not, but it would take a while. And I think my mistake with all of this stuff is looking at an apprenticeship and saying, Formula One engineer, thinking, my goodness, when you start a job, you know nothing. Okay. But if it's a good apprenticeship, you're going to learn as you go forward. And hopefully there's a job for you at the end of it. Okay. It's flippant of us to say, don't let the apprentice near my dragon tattoo. Because I'm sure there's a lot to learn before you get to the jabbing of the needles.
Yeah. I went for a haircut earlier this week.
I thought you were going to say, I've had a tattoo, right?
No. I don't have any tattoos, but I went for a haircut earlier this week. And the guy seemed a little bit nervous cutting my hair. And, as you do, you make a bit of conversation. I said to him, so how long have you been cutting hair? And he went, And I was like, oh no, he's going to tell. And he's only just started at this point, he's fiddling around and actually been cutting hair for a year and actually turned out well. I think it turned out pretty well. Thank you very much for chopping my hair. But imagine you ask that question. He said, well, actually, I only started this week. You'd be like, oh my God, you can't ask him to stop once he's removed part of your hairline, but you'd be a bit worried about what it's going to come out like. But I suppose everybody's got to learn, haven't they? It's a bit like the tattoo scenario. Every job, we've got to learn as we go. And of course, we're going to make mistakes. So on that day, that person might end up with a chunk of hair missing. The tattoo might go a bit wobbly. The wheel might fall off the Formula One car. Someone might blow up the explosive storage unit. These things could happen, but it's experience. You've got to learn from your mistakes.
Yeah, I think that if we fear mistakes, then we're never going to learn. Okay, generally, us business owners, okay, we've got to go for it. Hopefully, we mitigate against them, and they're not business critical mistakes, but made loads of mistakes along the way. When I had my tattoo done, right, the guy, brilliant he was, but when he said when he was learning how to be a tattooist, his brother let him just tattoo on him. He said, you got to learn. Yeah, here's an arm, here's a leg, go for it. So he learned his craft tattooing his brother. I was reassured that was some time ago.
So, these things happen. So, Keith Bucknell, good morning, Keith, and welcome to the show. Yes, we're fine. You're up in the big city, which is great. It's busier day by day, which is good to know. Is normality starting to restore? But once we grow, I'd like to consider some apprentices in the tech space. So he's thinking about the growth of the business, bringing in, apprentices that can obviously help the business grow, develop. And do you know what I like about apprenticeships? One of the things I really do like, and I'm a great believer in, is that you can bring someone into your organisation who knows very little at the time, because that's the whole benefit of it. But you can bring them in, give them the knowledge and experience and the skill set, but you also mold them into your business way. So, the ethics and the culture gets pushed into them as well. It's not just about giving them the trade or giving them the skill to do a particular job. It's about life as well, isn't it? Bear in mind, most apprentices are going to be of a younger age. So when you're bringing them in, you're there to nurture them and help them on their journey as well. And give them some life tips, I think could come into play. I mean, the days of YTS, okay, and I say I wasn't a YTS, but I remember taking some on. We used to send them down, and let's see who can come up with the best one, by the way. Go down to the shop and get some sky hooks.
Oh, man.
Tartan paint.
This is abuse now, right? You couldn't get away with this anymore. Surely.
No, you couldn't. Absolutely, you couldn't. But that was the day. That was how it was. That was part of the culture of an organisation, of a business. The team would play, let's use the word, pranks on them. But it was all about kind of getting them into the team and being part of that team. It wasn't done in a malicious way. But you're right. If you did that today, you'd have a lawsuit on your hands. Most probably. Times have changed,
right? Times have changed. And a lot of that is for the better. And some perhaps not. I don't know. I'd ask the audience, right? Do we miss the old days where you had a bit more freedom to muck about at work without the risk of being in some sort of tribunal? Or was mucking about at work in the wrong, let's say an inappropriate way, right? Bang out of order, and let's stamp on it. And thank goodness it's being eradicated. Because the days when I went to boarding school, similar stuff, mate. Go and get some tartan paint from the women's stores. I need to go and find me some glass hammers, and all this sort of stuff. And as a youngster, off you went, okay, with the tail between your legs. I'd like to think business has grown up since. I don't know. And this is just a big warning for when Chatbox is looking for an apprentice, right? Only the brave should
apply.
Should apply. My goodness gracious.
We will talk about that apprenticeships very shortly. Chatbox and development and growth. We'll definitely come on to that. Bit of a plug for ourselves. But you go back to that, Nick. You talk about has business grown up, but that also suggests to me fun has been removed as well. You have a saying. There's two things. If you're going to take on a project or a job, what are those two things? Share with the world what those two things are.
Yeah, the client has to be courageous, all right? Because if not, nothing changes. And it needs to be fun.
There you go. Fun. So let's not remove all the fun. James has put here into the chat, when I was training, I was told to go to the local ironmongers and tell them I'd come for a long wait. Of course, they'd say, James, wait there. We'll go and find what you're looking for. And about an hour and a half later, James has had his long wait. Brilliant. Keep them coming in. We'd love to find out what you were told to do when you were on an apprenticeship or an equivalent of back in the day.
Lovely to see you watching this show, James. Much appreciated. Big fan of your work. My biggest client, my friend.
Welcome for joining us and sharing.
Yeah, so be careful what you say, right? Be careful what you say, because important people are watching.
Right, now we've got to keep it clean because we have 9-year-olds joining us and VIPs as well. So we'll keep it clean and professional for the rest of the show. So apprenticeships. Now let's do a quick shout out. What are we looking for? We thought Apprenticeship Week is a good time for us to put a message out there. We are seeking an apprentice or two, maybe even 3, that can help us take Chatbox to the next level. What we need someone that's young, potentially, because I appreciate they don't have to be young, but young and dynamic, and has the skills that Nick and I don't possess, which is the ability to really do well on social platforms. We need a social media expert that can take on board and look after all our social media, content posting, connections, developing and building. We're not bad at it. We manage to get through, but we're the older generation. We need someone that's going to come in and understand it and really get it. So if you think at 9 years old you'd make a good apprentice, probably would make an awesome apprentice on social media, then give us a shout. Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. You can drop us an email, hello@chatboxproductions.com. Do reach out. We are looking for that apprentice to join us and help us with the production of the show as well going forwards. We've got big plans and visions for this year.
That raises an important question, right? About business, about apprenticeships, about business growing up. Okay. And traditionally, I would have thought an apprentice joins the organization to learn the trade, okay, and hopefully be a really useful member of the team. However, right, just as you've said, we're looking for someone who knows stuff that we don't. Right, we aren't in a position to train someone in all things social media because we don't know enough about it. That's what we need. We need someone who knows that field. So I'd like to think a lot of organizations are taking on apprenticeships and the learning is two-way. Right, show me the way forward. Show me what it's like to be 18 in 2022. Okay, what do we need to do about our marketing? What's wrong with our culture? Our board is filled with middle-aged white men. What do we need to do about that? That kind of, and politics. I see, as new people go into old shoes, it seems to be, here's another middle-aged white guy, right? And I'm not convinced that solves the problem. So hopefully that there's like an evolution around that whole kind of business growing up apprenticeship kind of space.
Evoluting, yes.
Evoluting. Are you evoluting?
Yeah, absolutely. And it is two-way. I think there's lots to learn from whoever it is that you're working with. I think from our perspective, we're looking for an apprentice that comes on board, that comes with knowledge and skill that we do not have. Of course, we'd give that apprentice the adequate training by making sure they're working with people that can give them that knowledge and skill and build upon it. But also it's time as well, Nick. We just don't have the time to sit there and probably learn that social media inside. I do use it, but we've talked about TikTok. How can we take Chatbox onto TikTok? And we've set out, well, you've set yourself a challenge, Nick. We'll talk about that next week on the show. But this is what we're looking for. So we're looking for someone that can come in and add immense value. And in return, we will provide value back the other way. And that, you're right, that apprenticeship or that route should be two-way. I think everybody can learn from everybody.
Yeah, I think really healthy, right? I think, and that's a quick call out to all businesses. Okay, learn from the people that know stuff you don't, and especially if that knowledge is unexpected. Okay, you don't expect a new starter, in theory, to be the font of all knowledge, but they know stuff you don't because they've grown up at a different time. They know loads of stuff about how the world works in their time rather than our time.
Yeah,
and that's a lovely invite from from Laura Lucia. It's how to be the Chatbox mascot. There we are. Until she's old enough to be an apprentice. How old do you need to be, by the way, to be an apprentice? Don't know.
Well, there's probably official rules, but I mean, we can break. Rules are there to be broken. Well, obviously, careful with the words, of course. Sorry, Mum. But
It's being recorded. This is on YouTube.
Ask for forgiveness, not for permission sometimes. But what we could do is we could have Luca as our mascot and our apprentice. We'll get her a Chatbox t-shirt, Chatbox mug, and then away we go.
I tell you what a different show it would be if we got input from a much younger generation. Okay, what does the future of business look like? I don't know, but let me tell you what's important in my world. Brilliant. Always, as you say, every day's a school day, right? Always learning. Okay, and what a great opportunity to learn. I don't know why, right? For some reason, we don't open ourselves to learn from a lot more people.
Absolutely. And that's what life's about. Life is about learning, developing, building on your knowledge and skills. And that's what Apprenticeships brings to the table. Of course, you take a lot on board, then you'll hopefully pay it forward. You'll give it to somebody else. And that's what it's about every day. I always use it. Every day is a school day. We learn something new every day. Whether you think you do or not, every day you pick up, maybe just a snippet, a little tip, a golden nugget that you can utilize in maybe in your business. Business owners, you should be learning every day, taking away those things and think that's great. Love to adapt and adopt and use that in my business. Swipe and redeploy. See something, swipe it, mix it up a little bit, redeploy. I don't mean copy it directly, but swipe and redeploy. Great way of
swipe and redeploy.
Great way of taking on ideas from other organizations such as Amazon or Apple. You don't have to be in the same industry sector. You see something they do well in marketing or, something they're putting out there on social media, whatever it's going to be, and go, like that would work well in my business. A few little tweaks, a few little adjustments, make it your own, brand it up yourself and reutilize it because it works because they've spent the millions testing it, to make sure it does work. And then you just utilize it, give it a whirl, see what happens. There we go.
Absolutely right. I think that, you can learn from other industries, right? It's a great place to see, okay, how do they do this? And then you find an industry. So I talk about effective meetings, and one of the businesses I'd refer to is Formula One, right? When they do a pit stop, okay, everybody around that car has got a job to do, and they know exactly what that job's to do. There's no one extra. Okay, it's only the people that can make a massive difference to the race are around that in that meeting. And we talk about pit stops rather than bus stops as far as meetings are concerned. Look, it's the biggest fan of the show. Look. Hello, Mum. Nice to see you on the chat box. As always, started 3-year apprenticeship in hairdressing when she was 15 in 1960. You're not that old, Mum. You're not that old at all. And for many years, always a great haircut from my mum. Lovely jabby. As long as you catch her before it gets too late in the day. No offense, Mum, but we learned that along the way, didn't we?
Fantastic. Right, let's put apprenticeships to one side just for a short while. I want to talk about a guest that we've had on the show a couple of times last year, because we're actually coming up to our year anniversary. This month is our year anniversary of Chatbox. I can't remember exactly the date, but it's towards the end of this month. I think it's about the 24th, 25th of February will be our 1 year. Well over 100 plus guests have joined us on the show now. Towards the end of the month, we're coming from somewhere very special. Nick and I are going to be in different places around the world, and we're going to be broadcasting the breakfast show live from Barcelona, and you're going to be on the mountains somewhere cold and snowy, Nick. So we look forward to that show.
I'll be flabbergasted, mate, if that show happens. You're in Barcelona. I'm up a mountain in France. We'll see what that
just also like. Point out, I'm not in Barcelona, by the way, on a skiing trip or holiday. I am actually there on business. I'm at the Mobile World Congress Exhibition Conference, where one of our previous guests, actually, Simon Smallbone from Step Tribe, is launching at the Mobile World Congress. So we have a stand there, so I'm there supporting and being part of that journey. But that's not the person I was going to talk about we had on the show. Previously, we had a young man join us on the show who went busking in 51 cities for 22 days. Some of you may remember it. We brought him on. We saw some of his journey. We interviewed him live from his hotel room. Here is a snippet, a snapshot of that, of Jacob in his hotel room, strumming his guitar one early morning, keeping all the residents awake who were staying there. And big news, we're going to get Jacob on to the show in the next week or two. We're just trying to finalize a date and a time. But he launched his single this week, Nothing is Impossible. And I'd love to just kind of firstly put a big shout out there. If you haven't seen it, go onto YouTube, just type in Jacob Ready and subscribe, give it a thumbs up. It's a great tune. It sounds quite DJ'd, doesn't it? But it's a great song. So I wanted to play a little bit of it this morning, Nick. I hope that's all right. So
Rocking, man, rocking.
So let's listen to Jacob in action in his new music video. Here we go.
Favorite song for you which sums up this whole experience?
Has it been a tough week? Are you trying to sleep? But you've lost count of the sheep. You try push forward, but the road is too steep. So run down that road. You've got places to go where nobody knows. Can you feel it? It's running through your bones. Wake up, grow up, be strong, I'll be there for you. Oh, stand tall, break the mold. Just know that nothing is impossible.
Hey! Look, I've never been in a music video before. This is an absolute first for me. But Nick and I are starring in Jacob's new video for his new song. Just going to play a little bit more there.
Oh, nothing is impossible.
Absolutely brilliant. We'll play the whole version of that as we go out of the show in a very short while. And if you want to listen to the whole 3 minutes and watch the video, you'll be able to do that. But Jacob is an inspiration. He's actually at college, music college, and we're going to get him on the show one morning to talk a bit through that journey. But busking for Derren raised over £10,000 in donations from the kind, generous public as they walk past and throwing money into his box and donating and stuff like that. That in itself is an apprenticeship. I know it wasn't an official apprenticeship, but learning as he, busked around the country. Awesome.
That's initiative for you, isn't it? And hats off to his dad doing all the driving, looking after him, getting him from place to place most of the time. 3 cities in one day from time to time. All weathers. That's grit, right? You like that? I've got an idea. I'm going to go for it, and off they go. And the video is, testament to what that journey kind of looked and felt like. Yeah, brilliant. I know at 16, right, you were on tour. You were deep in business at 16. I had no idea. I was still at school. I had no idea what the world looked like at all. At no point was I going to every city busking. I busked in the streets of Brighton, made an absolute pittance, mate. Ridiculously poor. Courageous to get my 12-string guitar out, strum a few Elvis numbers down the lanes in Brighton, right? Pennies, absolute pennies. I must have been awful at it. I was no way, mate. I'd still be, if I wanted to make 10 grand busking, I'd still be out there doing it, mate. I was dreadful.
Yeah. Well, do tune in to one of our future breakfast shows. Might be next week, if not the week after. We're going to get Jacob live here in the studio. We're getting him to play his song live here on air as well, and finding out a bit more about how he made that video and the effort that goes into creating what I think is going to be an amazing song that's going to go out there and a fantastic video to join it. He's also on Spotify, so you can find him on Spotify. You can go on there and search Jacob Ready. Of course, you can go to YouTube and find it as well. Do give him the support. He's young, he's dynamic, he's an up-and-coming star. We mentioned it here. We did one of the first interviews with him last year before he started doing all national TV and stuff like that. I like to think we just had a small part to play in his grand future of being the next superhero, as you saw at the beginning of the video, in the music world.
It's nice that we interviewed him before ITV. It'd be good, isn't it? I think they must keep an eye on this show, thinking, right, what's going on in the world, right? Let's see where we need to be. You're very welcome, ITV. Nice that you're viewing, and enjoy the rest of the show. We'll steer you in the right direction, no problem.
Absolutely. Right, Jacob, we look forward to welcoming on the show. Let's just move on. Last subject on my list, my notes here this morning, the Spring Fair. This week, I ventured up to Birmingham to the NEC and went along
You can't do the accent, mate. You can't.
I'm terrible at
cannot.
accent.
You cannot. I know you're safe now because you're back down south. You cannot start the story like that and do a mock Birmingham accent. All right. Anyone from Birmingham watching the show, right? Put in the chat. All right. Let him know that he can't do that. All right. It's awful. Awful. Have another go. Go on.
No, I'm not. I'm terrible at accents. Absolutely terrible. It just happens when you go Birmingham like that. But yeah, I'm not good at accents, and you're not going to get no more words out of me than that one single.
Our viewership has just halved. Yeah, fair enough.
Anyway, I went up to Birmingham and went along to the Spring Fair at the NEC. Fantastic event. Now, it's only open to businesses. So if you are a business, you can register. They have an autumn fair coming up later this year as well, and it runs every year. And it was huge. It takes up 9 halls, and you can go along and pretty much, you can't buy anything on the day, but you basically go along and you place your orders. And it has everything from jewelry and watches through to household furniture, to your household items, through to candles, you name it, toasters, microwaves, anything and everything that you could think of that you would see in a superstore or a private independent store, potentially even online in Amazon. You can buy there, but it's all about buying in bulk and you're locking in your prices. It'd be a great show for The Apprentice to go and do, for those that watch the BBC Apprentice show, because they can have a stand there and they've got to sell as much in bulk as they could. But really interesting. I only took one picture, actually, which I've got here. Let me just pop this picture up on the screen to give you an idea of what you can buy there. There you go. You can buy yourself a 3-meter stuffed giraffe, toy, of course. In the background, you can see this is the zoo stand, and all it sells is animals, as you can see. But it's a huge event, and if you do run a retail outlet, you're probably aware of it, or if you're thinking about just going up and seeing the sheer velocity of such an event and want to kind of just have a look around and get some inspiration, which is why we went, then I'd certainly recommend it. Do you know, it's my biggest day this year. I did 16,470 steps. Some of you out there say, well, I do that every day. Well, I don't. That was quite a big number for me. 12.4 kilometers I walked. I smashed my exercise goal with 104 minutes of exercise just by walking, by the way. And I burnt off over 1,200 calories. I know on the grand scale of things, Nick, you do that in about half an hour when you go out for a run. But
not with a 3-meter giraffe under my arm. I don't.
12.5 kilometers of walking around an exhibition. That's quite
9 halls. 9 halls. That's a mega event, right?
But the reason I mention it, because I had a few conversations and listened into some of the chitter and chatter that was happening.
The dibble and the dabble.
Dibble and the dabble, absolutely. And I heard some of the conversation that was taking place, like, it's not very busy, is it? But the people that are here are buying. And I would also say, since when we've been previously, pre-pandemic, it was packed. You couldn't really move. It was heaving, but it was nowhere near as busy. It did look actually at times, and I hate this, by the way. So if anyone is ever doing an expo, here's my personal opinion. You walk around, you see people sitting on stools, with their laptop or sitting on their phone like this, and, these are the owners or the exhibitors. And it's like, how engaging or not is that? And to me, that's a turn off. But then they've been there for 4 days already, the time I come round. So I can imagine it gets a little bit lonely, a little bit boring. But get rid of the chairs. Here's my first advice. Get rid of chairs. You don't have chairs on expo stands. Bin them. Get rid of them. You should be on your feet all day, burning off your calories and being ready to welcome everybody. I will say there was a couple of people so welcoming. You know, just they didn't want to sell me anything, and I wasn't prepared to buy anything either, actually, to be fair, but just wanted to chat. To pass the time of day, and it was just nice to be welcomed and have a look around. You know, what is it you do, and how can we help, and stuff like that. Nice, friendly welcome. There we go. So the Spring Fair, great event, finished yesterday, but the Autumn Fair is coming. You can just Google it and find out more about it.
I wonder if that's a reflection, right? That idea that it's only the kind of the more serious buyers that are going to that kind of event. Maybe that's a reflection on how we now use our time. Everyone seems to be so busy, so many things to squeeze into the day, so many Teams calls and Zoom calls and demands on our time, that we're only really allowing the quality time. In other words, I'm getting out of the office and I'm going to a venue, to the stuff that really matters. So the let's say the business spectator sports. Yeah, like a load of people would go and collect a bag full of freebies and leaflets. Maybe that's kind of disappearing, and it's less numbers but more serious buyers. Maybe. I'll be interested to hear from the audience. How does your time look now? How precious is your time? Because we're so used to dedicating most of our hours to sitting in front of our laptops.
Yeah, there is a lot of that, you know, and I do hope, actually, in a way, it is what you're saying, that people have realised that time is precious and how they utilise their time, and it's not a reflection on, you know, that businesses are slowly, in some places, disappearing, pulling the shutters down, and that's why maybe there's not as many people there, because they're not looking to buy. I wonder what the stats really show about that show. Did the exhibitors see less purchases, less commitments over the I think it was 5, possibly 6 days that it run? You know, I don't know. I don't have that information to hand, but I'd be intrigued to know. But it's a show where, as I say, in this case, you know, the buyers of John Lewis and that go along and they look at the produce and the product that they're going to put on their shelves in, you know, later this year. So kind of almost like the Christmas range, the winter range and stuff like that. I wonder if that is a reflection, or people have been smarter about how they utilize their time, because time has become super precious. And you can also do it on Zoom these days, can't you? I mean, you couldn't join that show on Zoom or Teams. You had to be there to be kind of making the purchases.
Yeah, and we've been part of virtual expos, haven't we? Certainly in the early days of the chat show. Must be. It's so different, and I'm wondering how those virtual expos have evolved and how popular they are. Because the standard meeting, okay, get everyone together in a room, has moved to a Teams meeting, and it looks very difficult to turn the clock back and say, no, we're going to have a regular weekly, or let's all get in the room. You know, people simply aren't in the same building anymore. So if we've moved in that direction, if virtual expos were effective, I'd imagine they would be here to stay. Very, very difficult to get that kind of expo feel in a virtual environment. They may have cracked it by now. I'm not sure. Not been to a virtual one for a while.
Yeah, it's not quite the same though, is it? You still don't get that same feeling. You know, it's great. You can drop in, drop out. You can kind of run around. You can, you know, it's all at your fingertips. But firstly, you can't get 16,500 steps in and walk 12 kilometers unless you're going to do it with a running machine in front of you and do it as you kind of walking or something like that. So even from a fitness point of view, you know, just getting out there. But how can you really crack a great deal and have that collaboration virtually? Does it work? You know, what's people's experience? I'd love to know. Don't get me wrong. I'm a great supporter of tech. Zoom has been great. Teams is great. It has a place now. And I hope that balance kind of balances out and it's used for the right reasons at the right times in the right format.
Yeah, my fear is it's being used for everything. Okay, where a pick up the phone for 5 minutes would have done. Now it's jumping on a Teams call, and I think it's effective for getting things done, ticking boxes, you know, checking in on project development. But I don't think it's very good for building relationships. Right? It's not, you know, if you know someone really well, then it's quite effective. But you've still got to meet up, you know, I would say often. But at the start of a business relationship, if that relationship starts online and continues online, I know you've got some of these and they're in theory effective. I wonder what's missing out of that relationship. Probably a lot of the non-scripted conversations that you would generally have with someone.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great question that we can leave our audience pondering and thinking about. What does your week ahead look like? What does your month, what does your year ahead look like? You know, what are your plans? Are you going to get back out there? Are you going to be able to adapt your business back into that real world scenario? Or are you going to be staying at home from the office, maybe working from a keyboard, a mouse or trackpad and a screen and a camera, where you can join things and you can interact and be part of it, but it's done in a virtual place? Is the metaverse going to be hitting us by storm and kind of give us a little bit more of a reality, kind of a bit more 3D dimensional, 4D dimensional, rather than a flat screen scenario? I don't know. There's lots here to discuss on a future breakfast show. But
absolutely, we should dig into that, what the future of business looks like. Because you used the word reality when you talked about the metaverse, right? It's not reality, is it?
It's a
this isn't reality. You and I meting up for coffee, you know, face to face, shooting the breeze. That's reality. But I think business is has moved away from that. It's as though we don't have the time. You know, both of us this afternoon, and you're shooting off shortly. We're out in the real world today. So I'm out for a bit. You know, you're out all day. I just wonder the difference, how you feel at the end of today compared with how you feel at the end of a Zoom day or a Teams day. Interesting. Let's leave that hanging for our audience to ponder and then come back to us on.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to get in touch with either Nick or I, you can do that via all the various social channels. Pop a message into the chats and let us know what you think about the future of business. Is it online? Is it going to be more face-to-face? Is it going to be a balance of both? Before we say goodbye, James O'Rourke's put in here, was at an in-person event yesterday and had several ad hoc chats created by chance meetings that just would not have happened online. There you go. So James is, again, I met James, funny enough, we spoke about this. He's been on our show in the past. I met up with James about 2 weeks ago, face-to-face for the first time in 2 years, because everything we'd done had been in the virtual world. But it's interesting, isn't it? Even, you know, James is saying that, yeah, the virtual world's great, but I wouldn't have had those opportunities if I wasn't there in the room. Let us know next week on the show. That's what we'll pick up on, I think. The real world, the metaverse, the virtual reality versus the real world. You know, what works, what's better? Is there a place for all, or do we need to get back in there into the real world? There's our theme for next week, Nick. We can pick up on that and discuss that more. So let us know. Pop it in the chats. Drop us an email at hello@chatboxproductions.com. Would be intrigued to know your opinion.
Fantastic. Great work, mate. Great work. Lots of lovely conversations. Thank you, audience, for your participation. Always very, very, very good to have you listen in and join those conversations. Yeah, look forward to next week already, mate. Reality versus virtual. All right, who's going to win that battle?
We could call it virtual versus reality. Virtual reality. Yeah. Anyway, we can work on the tagline of the show. We'll do that. But meanwhile, what we're going to do is we're going to let Jacob Revy play us out. Remember, Jacob will be on the show the next couple of weeks, coming on here to play live. But for now, we're going to make do with the next best thing, which is his latest video launched this Monday at 7 o'clock. Enjoy. Nothing's impossible. See you next week. Bye-bye.
So is there a favourite song for you which sums up this whole experience?
Has it been a tough week? Are you trying to sleep? But you've lost count of the sheep. You try push forward, but the road is too steep. So run down that road. You've got places to go where nobody knows. Can you feel it? it's running through your bones. Wake up, grow up, be strong, I'll be there for you. Oh, stand tall, break the mold. Just know that nothing is impossible. Oh, 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 nothing is impossible. Oh, 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 nothing is impossible. I see that courage running through your blood, doing things you thought you never could. I now know, you know that you are loved. The road is brighter up ahead, and everything is good. You're bigger, you're better than you ever thought you could be. And the kind of thing you'd only see in movies. Take that leap, and you'll be free. I said take that leap, and you'll be free. Wake up, grow up, be strong, I'll be there for you. Oh, stand tall, break the mold. Just know that nothing is impossible. Oh, 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 nothing is impossible. Oh, 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 nothing is impossible. So when you be broken down, you have the power to turn things round. So when you be broken down, you have the power to turn things round. Wake up, grow up, be strong, I'll be there for you. Oh, stand tall, break the mold. Just know that nothing is impossible. Oh, 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 nothing is impossible. Oh, 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 nothing is impossible.
Brilliant! Fantastic! We love you!
What a
Back
talent.
every night.
Called Jacob Reddy. And Jacob, is he around? I don't know where he is. He's here. He's in here somewhere. Jacob, who is he's right there, just completed a 51-day busking tour of the UK in like 3 weeks or something. He's been doing 2 or 3 shows a day. And this song's for Jacob, and this song's for all of you for being at the show this evening. I'm grateful more than words can ever possibly express. This one's for you. This song is called The Ballad of Me and My Friends.
Well done, Jacob. Bye-bye. See you next week.